Me, me, me,
OBJ
me,
takes
me.
OBJ takes over the OBJ takes over the Ravens. He is now the GM, the head coach, and the number one wide receiver.
Yeah, that was actually,
That
dude.
was I just saw that. Like you just said, hey bro. I was like, wait, I got a notification because I literally just like drove in. It's like a 3 hour trip from like Austin. So I was just like, what the heck is going on? And I was like, oh shit. Oh.
Yeah, dude. I, it's one of the premier marquee signings, I guess you could say, that was still left on the board, that was still undecided. But yeah, Ravens
um,
decided to go out there, gave
I
him
don't
a
think
con.
have you ever I don't think Ravens was ever on the list of like teams to go out and get, OBJ, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
I don't think they were. I don't think they were in that race. They weren't. There was a whole. I mean, this man was getting wined and dined, but it felt like by every team. Cowboys, probably the biggest team because
Yeah, and then it just didn't. They were like, well, we have a deal here, and it's just up to him. I guess he was just like, no.
nah. And so like contract details for OBJ, because that's first and foremost. Man hasn't played for but by the time he takes his first snap in probably regular season, I doubt he'll
He'll be
he'll
close to
do.
2 years out.
It'd be at least a year and a half. And so he tore his ACL in the Super Bowl,
Hmm.
not this past one, but the year prior.
Yeah,
And so he's just been working on himself, getting back healthy,
yeah.
and
That will literally almost be like it's like 1.9 years, 1.8 years,
1.9.
almost. It's almost 2 years
Yeah.
since. So at the very least, he had time to, which not a lot of players do have time to get used to that ACL.
Yeah, and so Ravens obviously have a lot of confidence in him. They went out and they gave him a 1-year contract, $15 million guaranteed, up to $18 million with incentives. Pretty hefty tag for a guy that hasn't been on a football field in 1.9 years, to put it in your terms.
1.9 years, but yeah, like I think he at the very least had a good, because you usually say like it takes about like a good year. Like you at least need a year, maybe even two, to get back from some type of tear. But yeah, I think he'll. I mean, hey, he's still doing all the one hand catches on Instagram and stuff like that. If you remember that, so boom, there you go. Like I feel like he's the healthiest OBJ I think we're going to see, and that's both a good and a bad thing.
And we're not. I think even with the contract that they're giving him, people are expecting OBJ to be the OBJ of like the Giants, even. But you gotta temper your expectations. You gotta expect what he is now. I mean, he's had multiple knee injuries, and from that perspective, he's not going to be the same explosive guy that he was, early in his career, where
Hmm.
he was a pretty much jack of all trades
Yeah, he was a
type of
deep threat.
receiver.
What was he like? A deep threat, a route runner, and a sure-handed catcher, all in the
Yeah, he
same.
could do it all, man, and that was
Hmm.
wild. And so he's joining a Ravens receiving core that consists of Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, who I believe they
I
drafted
love
last
how you
year.
put Mark Andrews over the other wide receiver. Like Mark Andrews is the true receiver here on this
I'm
team.
just looking out for you, but I know how much you love fantasy. Mark Andrews is fantasy god right there at tight end.
Fantasy god at tight end. If it's not Kelsey, it's your
Mark
boy.
Andrews and Devin Duvernay is the third wide receiver in that unit. So pretty solid unit, I guess you
Hmm.
would say, right? So where do you think OBJ fits into that unit?
I mean, depends. Like, because also they have Rashad Bateman as well. So, like, where would I think Rashad isn't? Wasn't he a recent pickup, like in a draft a
I think,
year or
yeah.
so ago?
I'll look that up. Because we're not too sure, but I think it was 2 years ago he was drafted. 23
Yeah.
years old, 6'1", 2021 NFL draft. There we go. First round draft pick.
Okay, so this will be like his second year in. So essentially, they have the Ravens have always been a deep threat of wide receivers. Even with Marquise Brown when he was still there,
Yeah.
it was always deep threat because at the very least you have to look at Lamar when he's running around doing his thing, and then of course like everyone's probably like everyone's staying close to the box, and then he could always throw out to some receiver, whether it be I think Mark Andrews was like your underneath guy, and the other receivers were down and over. So where basically OBJ comes in. He's just at that another. I would say he's at that level of his career where he needs to just have like the perfect routes. He doesn't need to beat anyone down like deep down the field. He needs to be like the Adam Thielen to this team, if you will. Trying to think of any other receivers right
He's got to
now.
take out a page out of the book out of our guy Tyler Lockett, man. That man is
Yeah,
on a
there you
mission to
go.
never take a hit like that. You just need to be as physically efficient. I guess you would, if you were to measure efficiency in terms of like yards gained versus damage taken. you
Exactly.
you
Oh
you
yeah, man.
it's hard to beat Tyler Lockett, and so you need
Except
to
for
take
he had
advantage
like,
of
and
him.
that was weird. He had this whole thing where he broke a bone in his like in his hand, but yet he still played with it. That
Yeah,
that's toughness right there. But
yeah, for
that's
sure.
but OBJ basically needs to be in a mode of like I'm not trying to get my legs taken out from under me.
Yeah.
But the weird part is every time he had them ACL tears, it was non-contact, wasn't it?
ACL tears usually are typically non, or I guess you
Well,
can tear
excuse
your
me, it
ACL.
wasn't what I mean by non-contact. Like he wasn't
He just
being
kinda went
tackled.
down. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it was one of the, if I recall correctly watching the Super Bowl, I think it was one of those things where he was just, like, running, like, a crosser type of route, and then he just kinda goes down, as he was, like, sprinting,
yeah.
and,
So is he
SoFi
too
Stadium
powerful?
strikes
Is he
again.
just so powerful that his legs can't handle himself anymore? But I mean, that's just the thing. Can his
Yeah.
ACLs now, healed up, surgery and whatever he had, done for it, can they last now? Especially for a full good season.
And yeah, that's the question, because you can't expect him to put like the same level of sprinting in and that kind of thing. Obviously, you expect him to run complete routes and that kind of thing, but expecting him to try to be like a deep threat when you already got guys like Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, and those guys that are also um, already have the boosters on them. But I think OBJ's gotta fit himself into this niche as like one of those guys that the intermediate to um, short routes, and just carve up defenses like that, and then just complement those two other guys they have on the edges.
Yeah, he was already doing that even with the Rams. Like even like
Yeah,
leading up into that Super Bowl, he was pretty much that route receiver that would always find his way. Like basically, he was like the Tyler Lockett to the Rams at the time.
yeah.
Like you
Because
couldn't like
For the Rams, Cooper Cup could do everything, and
right.
but if he could do everything, then they would just double team him. OBJ complemented him really well.
Basically, because he was still a solid receiver. I wouldn't say he's like also that superstar receiver as well, but I guess no, I'll take that back. He's a superstar in his own way if he sticks to the routing that he's been doing, like he was with the Rams. But you know, it kind of just brings my own question into the mix here is who's throwing to OBJ at this time?
So yeah, that's always the question, right? So in terms of Lamar Jackson still under contract, still obligated, or still a part of the Ravens organization in
Not
a
necessarily
financial,
obligated to play,
not
but he
necessarily obligated to play. And so that's the
yeah.
question, right? And so does this change Lamar's view on whether he should play or not now that he has another receiver in the locker room?
I mean, the question with Lamar wasn't who's in the locker room with me, who I could throw to. The question was, are you going to pay me?
Yeah.
Right? So that, like you said, he's technically on a unrestricted franchise tag, which he could still be traded, mind you. So let's just say we have two routes here. You either get Lamar Jackson, they pay him, they do his thing, they work some type of deal, he's back. He's gonna do it. Well, there's three. The second one would be he just plays on this franchise tag because, like, oh my gosh, we got OBJ, so we might actually have a thing. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna play on it. Or I
At the very least, if he's gonna play this upcoming season, it's like putting himself in the shop window, right? Like he's
yes,
putting himself on display. I don't know how often they can do this exclusive rights franchise tag.
they can
If they
keep
could just
doing
do
it
it,
every
they could.
single exclusive or non-exclusive.
So he's on an exclusive exclusive rights franchise tag, right?
No, he's so that was the weird part from the Ravens. If you remember, it's the non-exclusive. That means other teams could talk to him after getting, his franchise tag. If he had the exclusive franchise tag, you can't talk to
No, okay, yeah. So I think that, yeah,
him.
I think we might be just like conflating two separate terms, but yeah, the idea is that the style of franchise tag he has, teams can talk to him and
Mhm.
try to negotiate some sort of contract, and then they have to send two picks
Yeah,
to
2
the
first
Ravens with.
rounds, which is
And
that's still a deep I mean, that's a
I
lot.
mean, like if I
Unless
was
you're the
Lamar,
Rams, there's not a lot for the Rams.
see that's a tough bit, right? Because Lamar is under this tag is getting paid only like 32 million or something like that.
Yeah,
And he's taking a risk, but I mean it might be a risk worth taking, because it seems like whatever value that he wants to get, he's gonna have to go out there and try to earn it. So if I was Lamar, I would play. Obviously, concerned about getting hurt again, because there's nothing
yeah.
that tanks your value more than
That's
getting
also
hurt.
why I wouldn't necessarily just play either. Because yeah, I mean, you can throw all the shiny toys at me, but at the same time, if I'm still not guaranteed for my future in the Ravens, because let's just say I'm playing great, we're on fire. It could just be like week, 12. We're on fire. Like we're 11 and like we're 11, no, no, 12 and 0 maybe, or even 11 and 1. A little bit less though. and then boom, a random injury that happened because I'm trying to play my hardest for this team, and then after that, Ravens say, "Oh, we don't have him on the deal.
Yeah,
On to the next QB."
that's a scary bit, right? Because even there's no guaranteed money. I mean, it's year to year he's basically on at this point,
Yep. Yeah,
and
that's the thing. If you play on that franchise tag, it could end up like a Kirk Cousins situation where they keep franchise tagging you because you're so good and they don't move on from you. Which I mean, that was smart and that actually helped start this whole conversation of trying to get fully guaranteed contracts. But I don't know if it will work in Lamar's case here. You
yeah,
know,
and
you're going to have a lot of conversations in the future, especially after this signing with OBJ, talking about, well, should Lamar play or should he not play, even with OBJ on the team?
yeah, and if at the very least from the Ravens organization perspective, they got another receiver in there. Whoever is their quarterback, I mean, what's his name? Is it Tyler Huntley? Not Tyler Huntley. Who was their quarterback that filled in for him?
Yeah, it was Tyler Huntley.
Was it Tyler Huntley? Yeah,
Mhm.
Pro
The one
Bowl,
that got a
Pro Bowl
Pro
quarterback,
Bowl. He was a Pro
Pro
Bowler,
Bowl.
but he's not there anymore,
So from the Ravens perspective,
if I
if
remember correctly. Yeah.
yeah, and if from the Ravens perspective, at least they have another guy that can help whoever is throwing the ball. It's just I feel like these situations are probably mutually exclusive for the most
Yeah.
part.
Mhm, mhm.
But I think that's all I have. Do you have anything else?
I have nothing else except, let's just see what Lamar does, in response to this OBJ signing since it just happened shortly, like, not too long ago for us here, but, I'm interested, you know what I'm saying? Because if Lamar does come back and they work out a deal, are they in your okay, my last question here is, if Lamar comes back to play, what does that make the Ravens? Are they just automatically playoff contention? Are they Super Bowl
Obviously.
contenders?
Yeah. I would well, Super Bowl contenders is actually the right question. Um
Depends on that defense for
Depends
me.
on that defense because they did lose some pieces on that defense, and I think any team with Lamar as their quarterback, I mean, we could even say that any team with I would say any team with like Russ as their quarterback, you would automatically start as soon as you have that caliber of quarterback in,
Mhm.
you immediately think, all right, we're going to be in the playoffs. Now we just need to put ourselves over that final hurdle. And right now, I think besides the Lamar Jackson situation, that defense is probably what you got to take a look at and see if every nook and cranny is shored up.
Yeah, I mean, we can't answer that question until the season. I mean, I'm really interested now for the next season to start, as
Yeah.
always.
We haven't
But
even hit the draft yet, man.
oh man, the draft is like later. It's
What
not
if the
towards
Ravens
the
trade up
end of
to
this month.
what if the Ravens trade with the Cardinals for that first overall pick and then go and draft a quarterback?
Oh
Anything
my
could happen right now.
god, anything can happen right now. But well, that's because they have to deal Lamar somehow because they wouldn't want to keep him. If they let's just say they just don't want Lamar anymore, they literally would just be like, he is
Take
up for
whatever, yeah.
trade.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't worry about the first two picks, but let's work out a package.
Yeah.
And there's been some mock drafts recently that came out where some people have talked about like a potential like, ooh, we
Player
traded
plus
up and
pick
they
and
traded away like Lamar, and then they go to get their quarterback or something.
yeah, I could actually see like that kind of a situation. Like what if a high level pick.
They get the Florida QB, then I could
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
They try to replace Lamar with someone else like Lamar.
Yeah. That'd be pretty funny. But
But that's it for me, man. That's all I have. Man, hey, at the very least, like I said before, when does that season start?
and who says that sports doesn't have drama?
Oh, every day there's some type of beef happening.
Oh, for sure. But anyways, thanks for joining us here at Miss Reps. My name's Kanal and this is Adam. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below. And hopefully we'll come back with news on Lamar next time.
Shoot, peace.